into arts? Or are you specifically into art of sculpting?
Great, because today we're going to deepen your knowledge about the topic.
But first, let us introduce ourselves. I'm Angela Raquel Yavore
And I am Regine G. Raduca.
from BSOA 2-2.
Sculpture. The word sculpture was originated from the Latin word sculpere, which means to curve. It is defined as the art of practice of creating three-dimensional forms or figures. It is the art form that is described as having length, width, and volume.
Three kinds of sculpture: freestanding, relief, kinetic mobiles, freestanding in the round. These are sculptures which can be viewed from all sides.
Reliefs. These are sculptures in which the figures from a background. There are two variations of relief sculptures: the low relief or bas relief and high relief. The low relief or bas relief, the figures are slightly raised or projected from its background. Less shadows are created. In high relief, almost half the figures project from its background, more shadows is created.
Kinetic mobiles, a sculpture that is capable of movement by wind, water, or other forms of energy.
The process of creating sculptures. Number 1. Subtractive process. This process involves removing or cutting away pieces of the material to form the figure. The sculptor achieves this through the use of special tools like chisels, hammers, saws, and grinders. For sculptor, removing pieces of the material is like freeing the figure that is hidden or trapped within the material. Number 2. Additive process. This process involves the construction of a figure by putting together bits of the material or by welding together metal parts to create figures. Modeling and assembling are examples of this process. Modeling. It is the most direct method of sculpting. The benefit is that it is easy to test methods before committing can be reworked indefinitely. Assembling. The pieces or segments are joined together. Use of welding, soldering, gluing, taping, or other attachment methods. Number 3. Process of substitution. This process is also known as casting. This method involves using a mold to produce a 3D figure in another material. The material should be in liquid form for it to be poured to the mold. The three types of casting are sand casting, plastic casting, and lost wax casting.
Different media of sculpture. Through the centuries, sculptors have experimented on materials to be used for their sculptures. They have discovered that they can use natural and man-made materials to achieve expression in a three-dimensional form.
Stone. Stone is a natural medium. It is hard and relatively permanent. Sculptures made from stone will last for many years. Marble is deemed by sculptors as the most beautiful stone for sculpture. Marble is mined and comes in a variety of color and grain.
Wood. Wood is also natural medium. When compared to stone, wood is relatively easy to work on. Wood varies in hardness and durability depending on the kind of tree it came from. The major weakness of wood is moisture that causes it to rot, fire, and termites. Different techniques are being used to protect the wood, staining and waxing, to make it last for a long time.
Metal. This medium is used for sculpture because of its three unique qualities: tensile strength, ductility, and malleability. The two ways by which metal can turn into beautiful sculpture is through assembling or welding and casting. The ideal metals for sculpture are alloys, which is combination of two elements. Some example of these are stainless steel, bronze, and brass.
Stainless steel, it also known as inox steel. It is made from a combination of steel and chromium. This medium doesn't rust or stain when exposed to moisture and water.
Bronze is an alloy of two elements, the tin and copper. Its color is reddish brown and will corrode if constantly exposed to water and moisture.
Brass is an alloy of copper and zinc that gives it a yellowish golden color. Brass is more malleable than bronze and has a lower melting point.
Plaster. Specifically, plaster of Paris is finely ground gypsum mixed with water and poured into a mold. This material dries quickly depending on the size of the mold. After it has dried, it can be painted with different colors.
Terracotta, cooked earth. This is baked clay or clay fired in a kiln at a relatively high temperature. Firing the clay causes the moisture to evaporate, hardening the clay. Clay can be molded into any form before it is baked. The major weakness of clay is its fragility.
Glass. This is made by heating and cooling a combination of sand and soda lime. Glass may be transparent, translucent, or opaque. It can be molded into various shapes and colors. Sculptures of glass can be made using the following techniques. Number 1, hot sculpting is using a metal rod to gather the molten glass from the furnace and shapes it using another tool. Number 2, cold working is using cold hardened glass. This involves sandblasting, engraving, polishing, and grinding to create the sculpture of glass. Number 3, glass blowing is gathering the molten glass from the furnace using a blowpipe. Air is blown into the pipe and shapes the glass before it cools down.
Plastic is a synthetic medium made from organic polymers. While plastic is soft, it can be molded into a form. Sculptures using plastic are usually reproduction of the original work.
A famous Spanish sculptor, Pablo Picasso, once said, "Sculpture is art of intelligence." This is why we collect art in order to find inspiration from it to a certain degree display our intelligence. We find some connection between the mind of the artist and ours. We strive to gain a fulfillment to culture and the anthropological space.